I'm Steve Johnson, News Director of theDove TV. Watch more videos from the Dove Newsroom at theDove.us.
Hi, welcome back, and delighted to have with us Steve Johnson and Polina Leiser, and we're going to do a little panel discussion on something that popped up over the weekend. And what provoked me to go down this road was presidential candidate Scott Walker, former governor of Wisconsin, or current governor of Wisconsin. He was asked some tough questions, and the biggest question that came out was, is being gay a choice? And I thought, well, this is interesting because that is a direct question that leads to all kinds of things. But stepping back from that just for a moment, every one of these candidates are going to go into a pool now where all of these social questions are going to come at them about as blunt as that. And what are we to think as people who are sitting over here as potential voters for their candidacy to think if in fact they don't have a direct answer, that they're already running from the press of trying to pre-identify them going into an election cycle. Now, one of the reasons I think that Trump probably is doing so well is he doesn't give a rip about what anybody thinks. He's expressing himself, and in that expression, he's actually saying some things that a lot of people are thinking. Now, will that anger and that frustration and that flamboyancy win him the nomination? Yet to be seen. Some thinks that he'll probably self-destruct, and maybe so over his issue with McCain. But back to Scott Walker for a moment, I thought two things. We're going to play the video here in just a moment. Two things you'll see in this video. One is it appears to me that he wasn't properly prepared for this question.
That's kind of surprising, isn't it?
So wouldn't that be an organizational thing? That would be his advisors around him haven't prepared him for this particular question. Number one. Number two is he was really struggling with answering the question. And I can't help but think if I was put on that spot, I would struggle with it too. Wouldn't you? I mean, you have your personal convictions, and yet you want to be politically acceptable. What would you do?
Personally, I don't think that's as difficult a question to answer, but when you have it charged like you know that it is, to decide whether or not you're going to be seen as a hater or an embracing of a lifestyle, I think there are ways that these can be answered without too much difficulty. I mean, for example, the question asked to him was what again?
Do you believe being gay is a choice?
I don't know why a politician can't come out and say, well, we make a lot of choices in life. A heterosexual couple or an individual is going to decide who it is that he is going to have sex with. So does a gay person. So we make all sorts of choices throughout the day, and I think it obviously is a choice that is made on whatever side of the field you're on. See, my point is we kind of I think get sucked into that, and now we think, oh, I have to choice my words so carefully. I have to choose them so that I don't come across as a hater, and then it sounds stupid because they're waffling like crazy. But I think if you were to say, yeah, you know what, everybody makes choices every day. It doesn't matter what sex you are or who you think you might be attracted to, you're going to be making a choice.
Okay.
So I'm not sure why. To me, I suppose that leads to another question then. Well, do you approve of the gay lifestyle? That could be the next one that comes out. But I think initially, when we get so fearful of the question that we become frozen, then we look like the person with a deer in the headlights, like you were saying it appears Scott Walker did.
Yeah. Your thoughts before I play the video?
Oh, my thought is that, first of all, I don't like the question. When people are asked, is it a choice or is it genetic? To me, if I was a gay person and somebody told me you chose that lifestyle, I would think, okay, if everybody says it's a sin, because I don't think a gay person sits down at some point in life and goes, do I want to be gay? Do I want to be heterosexual? I think it comes, like any sin, it kind of comes gradually into your life and creeps in, and then so it's not genetic, but yet I have a hard time saying that every gay person out there made a conscious decision to do that. I think it's a choice to get out of that, and I think you can get out of that lifestyle, and I think it's a sin to live that lifestyle. Okay. But I'm just personally having a hard time telling somebody, you did it on purpose, and it's, you know,
well, you know what you've done right there, though, is you've already moved it into another level of it being a sin, which now will be that next discussion, because you're posing it as a person who's running for office, and what would the response be? Because very seldom in conversations do people say, you know, I'm having a steak and having dinner. Polina, do you think gay lifestyle is a choice or not? That's not normally the kind of discussions you have that way. But in a setting like you're talking about with Scott Walker and reporters, they're listening to hear, is he a homophobe? Is he embracing of it? Whatever it might be. And so you've already jumped into it being a sin, though. So you can imagine now it's moved on into a whole nother level of discussion.
But you said something, Polina, that was good.
Oh, finally.
No, you have a choice to get out.
Yeah.
So therefore, you had a choice to get in.
See, then
now you could have made that choice unconsciously.
But that's what I'm saying. Is
but
that
you did make that choice to get in it.
Of course, a reporter would say, "So this is a decision that people should get out of," from what you said, right?
Yep.
See. So it kind of comes back to that to begin with.
Let me play this video, because this sets up. Here's the issue. All of these issues, because I have some other questions to ask, and you can be pondering these while we're watching this video. Is abortion killing a baby? Is ISIS evil and should be extinguished? Are you against gay marriages? That's where we are. Let's take a look at this video.
Earlier this week, you said that the Boy Scouts of America should keep its ban on gay leaders because the policy protected children and advanced Scout values, and then your campaign clarified to say that it was really protecting the Scouts from the political and media discussion about that. I'm having trouble understanding that. What, at the end of the day, what is your position?
I'm not talking about personal protection. I'm talking about, for me, the reason why I didn't have a problem with it is I just think it pulls scouting into a whole larger political and cultural debate, as opposed to just saying scouting is about camping and citizenship and merit badges and service awards, instead of pulling all these other issues out there. And I would just hope that they could stay focused. So that's all.
So, but should there be a ban on allowing gay men to be Scout leaders?
That's up to the people who run the Boy Scouts. One thing that people find unique, I guess, whether you like it or not, is I actually answer questions. People ask me a question, I'll answer a question.
But you're not really answering this one.
Sure, I said in this case, that's what I thought. I thought the policy was just fine.
Okay.
I'm saying when I was in Scouts, it was fine. But you're asking what should the policy be going forward? It should be left up to the leaders of the Scouts.
Do you think that being gay is a choice?
Oh, I mean, I think that's not even an issue for me to be involved in. The bottom line is I'm going to stand up and work hard for every American, regardless of who they are, no matter where they come from, no matter what their background. I'm going to fight for people, and no matter whether they vote for me or not.
To act on behalf of people is, to do that properly, you have to understand, or at least have an opinion on who they are and where they're coming from.
But again, I think in the end, I don't have an opinion on every single issue out there. I mean, to me, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. So I'm saying that from an opinion standpoint, I don't know what the answer to that is. And again, I'm going to spend my time focused on things that I do know and what I can work on.
Wow.
You know, I wonder, though, if he hasn't made a conscious effort not to have a stance on that. I'm thinking that might be the case. I'm not sure if that... I got the idea watching him that to him this isn't that big of a deal, although it is to a lot of Americans. So it could be, and he's saying, well, it's not on my radar, I'm really not interested in that aspect of it. You know, and I guess that's a fair answer that he could have, but I'm sure a lot of people on both sides of the fence there will want to know more.
All right, could he have done himself better by saying, look, I'm not going to answer any of these questions about the gay community or homosexuality, so move on?
You know, you do that and you come across as hard-nosed. I think they're saying, you know, these are the questions of the day and you need to answer them. I think if he were to do that and be kind of dismissive of it...
But his answer was, I don't have an opinion on all these issues. Well, of course he does. He just doesn't want to say what it is.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
It does bother me a little bit if he doesn't have an opinion on it, because everybody seems to, you know. So was that evasive? That could be a problem. But I guess let the chips lie where they may and say what you want. I'm a little surprised because he has become very forthright on some other issues. But you're right, he is holding back a little on
Because here's the problem, excuse me, Polina, and that is that he can select his answers to a select audience. Now, if he's going to go before the NRB, he's going to answer all the questions. that the NRB wants to hear, and he did that. I'm for traditional marriages, and it kind of came down the list. Okay, but in a setting like that, he's avoiding them. So I guess, look, this scenario is the scenario for all Christians. You're being asked the same question at the water cooler today in your office.
It could be, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so what's the answer? What's your thought before I take a break?
I was going to say that what bothered me more about this is the question and the way she asked it and the way she drills it. And that's so typical of the media to go that direction and kind of dig deeper. I mean, can you imagine asking Hillary, do you think gays are is a choice or genetic? And say she would say it's a choice. And you say, well, so you're saying all the Christians out there are bigots? Are you saying that Jesus Christ was a liar? You know, like if you were to go that way with the liberal and pushed your agenda, oh my goodness, you'd lose your job for being that kind of journalist. And yet people like this lady
all right, so as
are
part of
praised
the
for being
campaign
good.
today, I mean, you're dealing with two things. You're dealing with your friends asking you the same question, your colleagues in an office, okay, or you're dealing with the press who's trying to trap you. So could he have responded with, and I'm not against Scott Walker, so please don't misunderstand me. I'm just trying to role play this out. He could have put the press back in her spot and say, why are you doing this? Why are you, the press, so concerned about sexual issues? Why aren't we talking about the national debt? Why aren't we talking about ISIS? Why aren't we talking about the military? Why can't you throw this back in the press's face?
Well, you know, Ted Cruz tried to do that, and he's kind of come across a little like a hard nose. That's the only problem with it, because the context of that entire discussion is going to be brought back to only that response that he'll have, that 8-second response.
Yeah.
So it's a problem to, you know, I think in a roundtable discussion where a lot of things are being mentioned, that could be brought up. But what's going to be the news thing? You know, Scott Walker fights back against liberal press, quote unquote.
Is that a bad thing?
For those people who are saying, oh, he's being very protective of his thoughts and he's really not letting us know what he thinks, it could be.
But those people wouldn't vote for him anyway, so what does he have to lose?
Well, the only thing is he's got, but is that how he wants to differentiate himself from the other 14 Republicans? Probably not that way. It's probably more of a positive way of how he responded, you know, in a way that was seen as acceptable rather than defensive or fighting back. So, you know, can you win in this situation, I think is probably the big question.
I remember when
you may have a hard time doing that.
Let me do this and I'll take a break. I remember when I was running for Congress, and my opening statement, I said to the press, right out, I said, let's just settle the issue right now. I am pro-life, no argument, no discussion. And I never was asked about it again. Right up front, I just told them I'm pro-life. And it moved on. I didn't have to be drilled about what I thought about abortion.
Well, now you'd have to answer all of those questions that have now made it onto the forum, too. About Boy Scouts and gay marriage.
Well, there you go.
All
right, let me take a quick break. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, and we're having a little bit of a panel discussion ourselves here today with Steve Johnson and Polina Leiser, and we're talking about tough questions to us as people of faith, and yet to candidates. And what do we do? What are we to do as people of faith when a candidate is asked an issue that is clearly a biblical issue? Marriage, life. These kinds of things. And what are we looking for in a candidate, and how much will we give them as a way of a pass and trying to stay politically acceptable while at the same time not compromising what we want them to say? So let's just do a little role play, all right?
Okay, so we're running for office?
Yeah, you're Marco Rubio and you're Carly Fiorina, okay?
Fiorina.
Fiorina. How do you say your last name?
Fiorina.
Fiorina, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like Ferrari.
Okay.
But not quite.
All right.
Well, I know nothing about her.
Well, that's all right.
But I
You're
guess,
just
okay.
role playing.
Pretend.
This is all hypothetical.
You used to be the president
Okay.
of Hewlett-Packard. Now you know.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, in
There you
that
go.
case.
All right. And you're in a debate. Carly,
Yes.
are you against gay marriages?
Yes.
You want to explain that?
I think marriage is between a man and a woman, biblically, and that's the way it's been in our country for forever. So I'm against having legalizing gay marriage. I think gay couples should have rights that some married couples have, but I don't think we should redefine the word marriage and extend it and expand it to other unions.
Okay. Marco, good to see you. How you doing? How's campaign
Good to see
going?
you too,
Yeah.
Fred Lutz, Frank Lutz.
So, are you against gay marriages?
Well, I'd have to say this. First of all, I'm a Christian, and I believe the tenets of what I find in the Bible, and God established marriage between a man and a woman, and I agree with those tenets. I think that outside of that, I would have a problem with supporting that belief system because of what I find in the Bible.
All right, but now that it's legalized, what do we do?
Well, it is the law of the land, and the laws can be overturned if Congress
Would you support
feels
that?
the need to do that. I might. I'd have to look at how it's written specifically to see, because I don't want anyone personally to be have their constitutional rights impacted by it all. But I'd have to say that I certainly am in favor of the unity between a man and a woman, so I would look at that legislation closely.
You're
So
such
Carly
a
would-
politician,
Well,
Marco.
no, but I you know.
So
you know,
Carly,
there you go.
Yes.
should same-sex couple have the rights of married couples?
Depends on what rights you're talking about.
All rights as a married couple. In other words, if we're not going to recognize their union as marriage, which even though the Supreme Court has, if we overturn this bill, this law, do they have the right to join their estates? Do they have the right to have benefits from one job to the other, from one partner to the other? Do they have the right to visit them in the hospital, et cetera, et cetera?
Well,
I mean, better known as civil unions?
Yes. I think the government should stay out of the bedroom. So on that regard, I don't know how much, personally, I don't know how much power the government should have in deciding those matters. But personally, I wouldn't, you know, if the person makes a conscious decision to live that lifestyle and they're committed to each other for the rest of their lives, and even though I personally consider it a sin, and I say it out loud,
Yeah.
you know, I think that would be okay if they want to share insurance or visit each other in the hospital and do whatever else they do.
Marco,
Yes, sir, Fred.
is
Frank.
ISIS evil?
I would say that by looking at a group or individuals as to how they react, you can judge. The Bible even says, by their fruits you will know them. I'd have to say everything I've seen in ISIS would indicate that, yes, they are not good people at all, and what they have done by killing innocent people is evil by anyone's standards.
If you were president, what would you do about ISIS?
I would certainly have a plan that our current president doesn't seem to have. And I think you would have to get together with military. Once you realize this is a group of people who need to be stopped from their current actions, then you have to come up with a strategy to do it. And I would bring in all the my chiefs of staff to tell me what they think their ideas are on how we could best fight this.
Carly,
Wow.
Yes.
There you go.
is abortion killing a baby?
Yes, sure is.
What would you do as president?
Outlaw abortion
How?
by getting people together that are responsible for making laws and bills and putting, you know, obviously you can't just do it with an executive order. I'm not going to be like the current president, but I
Why
think.
not?
Why not?
Yeah, why not? But through executive order would you defund Planned Parenthood? Why wouldn't you do that?
Okay, well, you gave me just a great idea to defund Planned Parenthood. But this will not.
That's it. You can make up your strategy as you go along. It's not a problem.
Good idea. Do you want to be on part of my cabinet? But you know, this will not solve the whole issue. Yeah, we can defund Planned Parenthood. The abortions will still be going on, and there are other clinics that offer that. So while I can go ahead and use my executive order, I think there should be a law that will outline abortion. Yes, I'll do everything I can. And as far as ISIS goes, Marco,
Yes.
I think we should just
Carly.
nuke them.
Wow.
Okay.
There you go.
Get rid of them.
Marco, what would you do about abortion?
Okay, this, if I were running for president like Marco, you know, what I think you have to do is set the stage, and I don't think a lot of people, they'll shoot from the hip that way. Here's one thing that I haven't heard mentioned, and I think it really has to be brought up. If I were Marco Rubio or whoever mentioning,
these are all hypothetical
names,
okay.
Marco Rubio does not necessarily mean the Marco Rubio who's running for president right now. It's a hypothetical Marco Rubio.
Just answer the question.
We're already covering our rear ends here. We haven't done anything yet.
As the chief of state, I'd have to say that it's important for me to be able to defend the weakest in our society. And certainly those who are unborn are in the weakest position possible. And I think it's incumbent on the civil rights nature and history of the United States to support those who are the weakest. And certainly those people who are unborn, but soon to be, need to be protected at all costs, because right now their voice is, no one is speaking on behalf of them in such a way that protects them in the womb, and I think we need to start doing that now. So that's what I'd say, is I would just go back further to say this is a human rights issue, and all the civil rights people really need to get behind this, because whereas you have other people who at least have a voice and can speak out and you come to their aid, is the civil rights community coming to the unborn? No, they aren't. This should have been from the 60s, what the civil rights community should have backed up, saying, these are the weakest people in our society and we have to support them.
Carly, we only got about a minute left, but as an adult, you have the choice at your death to donate an organ. You can do that if you choose to further someone else's life. What right did these unborn children have to have their organs donated before they were born?
That's just disgusting. I mean, I think that this whole issue with the donating baby parts is disgusting and shouldn't happen.
And I, as Marco Rubio, would say that's a perfect example right there about how their rights are not being defended, because they have nothing to say about it and they're actually being killed in the womb to have their organs harvested. If this isn't the biggest breach since we've seen of any travesty in the world, I don't know what would be.
Quick, I think I'm going to withdraw my candidate.
And I'll have Carly be my vice presidential candidate.
I think I'm leaving this race. I don't like talking about these issues as a politician.
Listen, I think here's something we did here. You see, it's tough to answer these questions publicly. Even as a person is conviction, because you're under the fear of saying something that would tank your candidacy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have a moral obligation to stand up for what you believe. It's a whole lot harder than you think it is.
Because you know it's not going to be just that one question. There will be follow-up questions to that question.
There we go. Well, there is our panel discussion for the day. You can send Steve an email and Polina an email, and me if you want. And we'll
vote Marco. Or Carly.
Or Carly.
Trump.
Or me. We'll see you at the time.
Go John McCain.